Boatworks today is sponsored by Total Boat and Alexial Yacht Coatings, as well as supported by the generosity from the beautiful folks over on Patreon. Thank you so much.
So welcome back to the shop, everybody. I hope you're having a fantastic week. Now, I'm just going to cut to the chase. The last few days for me have been pretty much all over the place. The long and short of it, which I'm not going to bore you with the details because honestly, they're not very exciting. But the long and short of it, I wasn't up here all that much. This is only my second afternoon up here, and it's already Saturday afternoon. So not a lot of progress got done up here, which is, kind of a bittersweet thing. But on the other hand, I was able to get a lot of thinking and planning done. And specifically, I've been able to kind of chase down some questions and specifically some thoughts that I kind of wanted to play around with a little bit for several years. I haven't been at the point with this project where I could physically do it. So here we are. Now, one of the things that I've always had as a big question mark for the last, seems like forever, is how much real estate or how much room do I actually have back here once I start actually dropping everything in its place? Now, my plan is to have some type of maybe 2.5 person. How do you get a half a person? But anyways, roughly some type of a shorter wraparound bench seat for back here. Now, obviously, this ain't it. But it's roughly the same size, so it gives me an idea as far as how much real estate or how much area it's gonna chew up coming forward, as well as, both sides. Now, this is actually exactly the size that I'm looking for, at least width-wise, because one of the criteria that I have is that I want to be able to have full access to be able to come off to the sides on both the port or the starboard side, climb over the aft coaming, get onto the swim platform, jump off the boat, catch a big fish, who knows? But this is roughly the same size that I'm looking at. Now, what I found a little bit surprising is how far forward this is actually sticking. Obviously, the bench seat that I'm going to have on here, it's not going to have all these feet coming down. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to design it, but it is going to be smaller, at least a smaller footprint down onto the hatch, because these little cutouts here are kind of the direction I'm leaning as far as being able to have access, easy access, to all of the area underneath this cover that we've been working on for the past few weeks. All right, so here is what I'm thinking. So what I mapped out here, this is the center line. Now, directly under here is the stringer, or I guess what will be an extension of the stringer under here that's going to come up and support the underside of this hatch running fore and aft. So with that being the center line, what that splits this hatch into two different halves, essentially. Now, the covers that I pre-cut here, and again, these are just props. These are 26 wide by 18 deep. Now, ideally, I think this is the size that I would want, just, for being able to get, if I have batteries back here, being able to get those in and out. Now, I'll try and drop in a picture specifically of the hatch that I'm looking at here. Heavy duty, a little bit of an understatement. It's probably severely overkill, but if a lot is good, then more is even better. That's kind of my attitude going into most things. So what I'm looking at here, this is the footprint here, again, 26 by 18. This is going to be the outside diameter to include the mounting flanges for these two hatches. Heavy duty aluminum. I believe all of the hardware is all stainless. And these would have an opening hatch here, and they would open up this way, hinged along the back. Now, I'm leaning in this direction pretty heavily because reluctantly I came to the realization that if I need to get in here, this cover is not going to be the easiest thing to jostle around in a quick and in an emergency, essentially. I still want this cover to be removable, but I don't want to be able to have to pull this whole thing, to include the bench, get the bench out of the way. Then I have access to pull this 60, 70 pound cover out of the way. That just seems like way more screwing around than I feel like dealing with. Now, but I do want to have that access, direct access, if I need to, with some planning, but not as in like oh snap, I got to get in there like yesterday kind of a thing. So that's the reason for these hatches. And it's also, if I go this direction, it is also going to take care of one of the other issues that I had, that although this cover is quite stiff, there is a little bit of spring. It's spanning 5 feet port to starboard and 3 feet fore and aft. So, and it's at this point, it's completely unsupported. So I'm not entirely surprised. I've mentioned this several times that I did ultimately believe that I was going to have some kind of a support on the underside of this cover. But I was trying to not go that direction. But setting that one aside, just for access alone, I think I have to have these covers in place. Now, when I actually have the proper bench in place, it's not going to extend into or in the area and onto these hatches at all. I can cantilever the bench seat. There's lots of different ways that I can mount it to where it's going to allow me access for this to swing up. It may not be able to swing up to a full 90 degrees, but it should be able to come up pretty close. I don't know that I need to have the seating or the actual seat itself come out this far, but again, these are the fun things that are, that I enjoy playing around with. And I haven't been able to do any of this up until now. But now we're getting ready to kind of turn the page here. I'm at the tail end of a lot of the fiberglass work. And we'll be able to switch gears, get into more of the finishing and specifically the designing, which is really what I've been wanting to do with this project since I first took it in, I don't even know how long ago, 10, 12 years ago? A long ass time ago. So one of the things that I have just been dying to see is to throw some of my cutoffs from past projects. And this is going to tie in directly to everybody that was, honestly, they were crapping all over my hatch, saying that, because it's going to be proud, it's going to be a toe kick or a toe killer. And it's just terrible idea. I suck, don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. I think you get the hint or the drift. However, what they did not know was my plan in the next few steps. Teak decks, at least for this cockpit area. I'm not gonna put teak decks, up on the foredeck, or I'll do some trim along the sides. But I do kind of want to have a kind of like an upscale feel to this area, this entire area in through here. And having a teak deck on here is going to do a lot of things. One, obviously it's going to give excellent traction. Setting that one aside, it's going to take up at least half of this height. So right now, I'm less than a half of an inch from the top of what would be a deck up to here. And that's if I go with the narrow planks. If I go with these wider ones, I'm less than a quarter of an inch in height. But this is how things are looking here. Now, this is something that I would like your opinion on. I don't have a tape up here to measure what the width of this plank is. I'm guessing like roughly 2 inches, like 1 7/8, give or take. And over on these thinner ones, if I had to guess, I would say the width on this plank is maybe slightly over an inch versus closer to 2 inches. On this size area, which width plank do you think would look more appropriate? I'm leaning towards the more narrow one over here. I just like the way that looks. However, my overall plan for the hatch itself. So I'm talking about having teak deck over everything in this cockpit area, except for this hatch cover. The hatch cover, I'm going to have painted non-skid. I'm going to do Alexial with the soft sand non-skid there. I think that'll look like a really nice contrast compared to the darker teak, all that's going to be on either side of it, as well as forward of it. So I'm not going to be adding any additional height on the hatch cover itself, but the flooring is going to take up a lot of that gap. I think it's going to be a non-issue, to be perfectly honest. Now, the other option for the flooring in here would be to go with Cork. I've been talking with Teak decking systems, and they offer a few different options. But kind of the big difference between Cork and the Teak is that I can do most, if not all of the work with a Teak deck. When you start getting into doing all the shaping and the fine tuning with a Cork deck, from what I'm understanding, and again, I'm learning about this kind of as I go, but it's not as easy to do. I mean, a lot of times your Cork decks they're cut, trimmed, and everything to an exact size, and it's all done on a CNC. So it's not a matter of coming up here with a little belt sander or a jigsaw or doing whatever trim that needs to be done. You can't trim Cork the same way that you do with Teak. At least that's my understanding. So the weight, I don't know that weight with the Teak is going to be too much of an issue because it's going to be spread over such an evenly spread out over the area. But it is going to add a fair amount of weight. If I had to spitball, I'd say probably 500 pounds, maybe. So definitely a shorter video for this week, but still a lot to think about. And I would love to hear your thoughts, specifically on the Teak deck. Love it, hate it. Again, nothing is set in stone. I can go a completely different direction if I need to, but this was kind of the direction from the very beginning that my mind was kind of going, but certainly open to other ideas. So if you have some, please leave those down below, as well as what are your thoughts on how I want to redo the access for that aft hatch, because the hatch, the whole entire thing, it's a little on the large side to be shuffling in and out here in any kind of a hurry. And those two, they're really nice looking hatches. And again, I'll try to remember to drop a picture of the specific hatches that I'm looking at. But I think kind of having those side by side on the top, and they're pretty much flush, so they're not going to stick up any more than, like, I think it's less than a quarter inch in thickness. So they're not going to add any additional height to that hatch per se. And then you're going to be so close to the bench that there's really no way you're going to kick it. So you like the hatches, hate the hatches, you want me to just completely redesign that large cover altogether? I don't really want to, but I mean, I would if it would make a night and day difference and make things a lot better.
So anyways, those are the two questions I have, and if you have some opinions on that, I would love to hear them. Again, please leave those down below. Now, again, with that, rather than sit here and ramble on, I think I'm just going to go ahead and button this one out. Hopefully, try and catch a little bit of the Packer game tonight. If not, I believe it's recording and I'll see it tomorrow. But anyways, on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and button this up. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found this interesting. And if you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Thank you in advance. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave those down below. I'll do my best to follow up with you. And as always, I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week. Girls will be back in school. No more distractions. We'll be making a lot more progress on the boat. So I shall see you then. Doodles.
This has been a Boatworks Today production.